After God had miraculously delivered the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, leading them through the Red Sea and providing for them in the wilderness, he brought them to the foot of Mount Sinai. Here, God would reveal his holy law, the foundation of his covenant with his people. The scene is described in Exodus chapter 19. The mountain was covered in thick clouds, thunder rolled, lightning flashed, and the sound of a trumpet grew louder and louder. The people trembled, knowing that they were in the presence of the Almighty God. And then God himself spoke, the 10 Commandments, his eternal law for all generations. Now, these commandments were not just rules. They were a reflection of God's character of love and righteousness. The first 4 showed how to love and honor God, and the last 6 showed how to love others. Let's look at each one. First, you shall have no other gods before me. This command, along with the next 3, is known as the Shema, which means Hear, O Israel. It declares that Yahweh is the one and only God, worthy of worship above all others. Idols cannot compare to the living God, so the first commandment calls for exclusive devotion and worship to God alone. Second, you shall not make idols. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, to the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to the thousands of the one who loves me and keeps my commandments. Here God warns against idolatry in all its forms. Making and worshiping idols is a direct challenge to the first commandment. God desires a pure and genuine relationship with his people. Third, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Taking God's name in vain, whether by swearing or using his name casually or disrespectfully, is a violation of this 3rd commandment. It trivializes the holiness and majesty of God. Fourth, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. In this commandment, God sets apart the 7th day as a special time for rest and worship. It reminds us that God is the Creator and we are his creation, called to live under his authority and guidance. Keeping the Sabbath holy involves setting aside time to rest, reflect, and draw near to God. And the 5th through 10th commandments show us how we should love others. 5th, honor your father and your mother. This commandment emphasizes the importance of respecting and caring for one's parents. It recognizes the foundational role parents play in our lives and calls for children to show gratitude and reverence toward them. 6th, you shall not murder. This commandment addresses the taking of innocent life and affirms the sacredness of human life. It calls for respect and protection of life in all its stages and circumstances. 7th, you shall not commit adultery. Adultery violates the covenant of marriage and breaks the trust between husband and wife. This commandment calls for faithfulness and purity within the context of marriage. 8th, you shall not steal. Stealing involves taking what belongs to another without their consent. This commandment calls for honesty, integrity, and respect for the property of others. 9th, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. This commandment addresses lying, slander, and spreading false information about others. It calls for truthfulness, integrity, and respect in our communication. And the 10th, you shall not covet. Coveting involves desiring what belongs to another person, whether it is their spouse, their house, their possessions, or anything that is theirs. This commandment calls for contentment, gratitude, and respect for what God has entrusted to us. These 10 commandments were not given to save people, for salvation comes only through faith in Jesus Christ, but they were given to reveal sin and to guide God's people into holy living. In fact, in the last days, Revelation 14:12 tells us that God's faithful people will be those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. You see, God's law is like a mirror. It shows us our true condition. But just as a mirror cannot clean your face, The law cannot cleanse your heart. Only Jesus can do that. Yet in His love, He still calls us to walk in obedience, for His commandments are not burdensome, but a blessing. So today, will you choose to love God and keep His commandments? As Jesus said in John 14:15, "If you love me, keep my commandments." If you enjoyed this message, subscribe to our channel for more Bible-based teachings and inspiration.